Okay. Cool. Anyone want to play that? Okay. All right. Next time. Okay, I was going to show you just a couple of little tricks that I think are quite, and they're sort of based around the notes we just used. Things that sound quite cool using the slide in the key of G. Because you've got lots of notes you can use on the third hole. You've got the B flat, that's the slide in, then the suck, and the blow. The only note you don't want is that blow with the slide in this key. So, I mean, that's licks I do a lot. You've heard me do them already. So you can trill on the suck 3. And if you want, go to the blow, down to the blow 2, back up to the 3. Same thing on the hole 7. Those notes really easy to play, and those, I mean, that's a device I use a lot. It's one of those chromatic harmonic things. It's easy to do, and it sounds flash, you know. You can trill on it. Okay. The other thing is on the hole 4. So I mentioned earlier about, you know, you've got different options of when you play the C, which is, you know, as a chromatic player, you should know about. It's the same with the Fs, E sharp, so F. So you can sort of trill on that suck 4 if I'm there. That's a note you might suck, push the slide in to go up from the B to the C. That's another quite easy trick to do. So you could basically, on the 3 and the 4, or the 7 and the 8, or the 11 and 12. Well, maybe not the 12 because that gives you a different note, but so I'm trilling on the 4 and going up to the suck 5. Okay. So the other note is you've got this. Your blow 5 or 4 with a slide in. That's what we call the flattened 5, which is a really bluesy sound. It's in the blues scale, and it gives you. I mean, diatonic players bend 4. That's another note you can trill with. Okay. Does that all make sense? I know that's like, there's some little tricks you can do.
I've unmuted myself. The phrasing and the timing, I'm happy with the notes because
Yeah.
I sort of know learning most of those scales. But what really makes a difference listening to you is that very precise. The riffs are really sharp when you start, when you finish. Any suggestions of who to listen to get used to that?
Oh, that's
practice well, just short ones or practice tips to get the phrasing crisper, perhaps.
I mean, I just said listen to a lot. I think helps. There's fewer chromatic players who play blues in that style, if you like. I mean, a lot of blues chromatic players tend to not use the slide that much. I mean, because I come from being a diatonic player, so I suppose I'm used to playing those licks on the diatonic. So I think I've just transferred some of that sort of thing. So, yeah, you are right about the timing. So, I don't know. Just that's not a very good answer, is it? But yeah, I mean, just listen to I would say other harmonica players or other instruments,
Yeah.
saxophone players, and try and copy some of their licks.
I had an exercise, not that I'm great at it, but I had an exercise anyway, which was to restrict the number of notes that you play.
Yeah.
So you restrict it to 3 notes, say, and you try and get as many rhythmic variations sort of thing out those 3 notes, or variations in whatever you're doing out those, and then you move on to another 3 notes, but seemingly some people do that.
Yeah, that's a very good idea. And also, I mean, with blues stuff, actually, something that people do is they might do a little riff with a particular rhythm, like, and they might do the same riff but on the same rhythm but on different notes. I mean, that's probably not maybe the best example, but so that is a good idea to do, and just a few notes at a time is. I mean, with those notes I just showed you on the whole 3, or you can do this on the diatonic as well. You can just play notes that fit with the chords all the way over a 12-bar blues. So, yeah, I mean, that's a good thing to do. I mean, because really I'm just talking about scales and notes you can use, but restricting yourself to a few notes or just doing little riffs that repeat. I mean, because blues is broken up into sort of 12 bars, I often do 4-bar phrases where it might be the same thing 3 times, and the 4th one is a response, or it goes back to that sort of thing. So,
Joff, do you play major over the 12 bar and then be specific about the B flat notes or the blues notes, just to emphasise the fact? I just played over the 12 bar there using the pentatonic scale,
yeah,
and I naturally fell into coming down the blues scale to make some emphasis on between major and blues, I guess.
Yeah, that's. I mean, often it's major going up and minor going down. So I think, but yeah, I think just getting the contrast between the major and minor is. I mean, that's the thing about blues, isn't it? They're major chords. I mean, the chords we're playing on are all majors. They're dominant chords. But you play some of those minor notes. You play some of those flattened thirds, flattened fifths. So I like the contrast between the two. So that riff that I've played a lot now. That's the major third and then the flattened third, isn't it? So I don't know. Does that answer your question, or are you saying you?
Well, no, I've only recently just been playing around with country tuned stuff, and the major pentatonic seems to, the da 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 da, and then playing it in the upper octave, and then mixing them, trying to mix them up, and trying to get them separate in my head.
Yeah. There is a musical thing that some riffs sort of are major going up, and then they seem to flatten the third going down. That seems to happen a lot in music. So yeah, that corresponds to what you're saying. Minor on the way down, or flatten some of the notes. So yeah, that is the thing you can do.
Yeah, it was just interesting as I was jamming over the top of it. I just noticed that I wanted to play the major, and then coming down the minor.
I think the blues scale is a great place to start because the notes are there and it's going to work all the time. The other scales you need to just be a bit more careful. That's why I think the interest comes from changing between the two. I think between major and minor, and you're a diatonic player as well. You don't just play the blues scale when you improvise, do you? You'd put in other notes definitely. So
I'll try. What chromatic do you recommend to get for me then, as somebody to jump into this sort of stuff? I quite like the jazzy feel of it all.
Yeah, I mean, I'm playing a CX12. I've got a Suzuki 14-hole, which I like the range of because you got the G below middle C, and a lot of melodies will go to that note. So I found with the 16-hole, which I haven't got a decent working one at the moment, that they're all broken over there. I didn't use the last two holes at all, much really. Jim, you got 16 there, have you? Yeah. So yeah, and the other thing about the 14 holes is a good range for me, but I like the CX12. For blue stuff, it's good because it's bendy. You can bend the notes a bit, which I know you don't really need to do on the chromatic, but you're doing it more for effect. And also, I found because I was a diatonic player for years, I played chromatic for years, but when I started playing a bit more seriously, doing gigs where I played most of the night with it, I had to calm myself down and not blow so hard. But I found the CX12 responded to some harder playing. But that's the fault in my technique, really, rather than. So you can be quite, and it's loud as well, which for a pub gig is helpful, I think. So, I mean, I like them. I think they're great. They're easy to fix and take apart, and yeah, I've not regretted having them. Okay.
I noticed somebody mentioned the jazz version. What's the difference? Is it just a different mouthpiece?
It's a different mouth. I've not played one, but I know people like them.
Is it louder or more responsive? Or
I don't know. Someone else to answer that
in
question.
My opinion, it fits better in the mouth. That's all. The sound is exactly the same, right. But I think it fits better in the mouth with the jazz mouthpiece.
These are very fat.
Yeah.
I mean, I like that, but they do. You're gonna have a big gob to play one. But they are louder, I think, than.
Yeah.
I think if you tongue block, they are bigger. But if you don't tongue, I pucker. I don't play octaves really, or do splits.
Right.
But I've got both. I've got a jazz and a standard, well, a tenor. But the jazz shell is very comfortable, but it's quite a lot more. It's about £100 more.
Wow, that does seem a lot more.
Yeah, it's a lot more money, but it is nice. It is very comfortable.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit fragile on the case though, because I've got one, and where you clip the backing, you've got to be very careful not to crack it when you're putting the two tongues in the grooves.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I've had it. I've got another one as well, and I've had them for years now, and they've lasted pretty good. But I mean, this Suzuki I like. The slide's a little bit noisy on this actually, but I like the 14 holes is great range for me. But
Joff.
Yes.
If you do break the ends of where the tongues go into the plastic, Brendan Power does a printed one of these plastic printed versions that you can mend it with a little bit of thing. Okay. I noticed that on one of his YouTube things.
What, just the cover?
If the cover breaks where you slot the back thing in, Brendan Power does a thing you can fix it by basically chopping off the metal bit a little bit, and it just inserts the same curve on the inside. So if someone's got a broken one, they can fix it using Brendan Power's bit.
Okay, cool. Right.
Joff, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Sometimes when I've been playing with heavy blues bands, I've been up in a session, in a jam, and they said what I play is more like jazz than blues. To me, what you were playing sounded jazzy rather than bluesy.
Yeah.
What is it that they are listening for that I'm not giving them?
Well, I mean, the thing is,
of course, it's not mine.
Yeah, the diatonic. I mean, what's great about it is the chords and the bends and stuff, which you can't do on the chromatic, really, can you? So I think, I don't know, I think when I play the chromatic, I'm more note-based. I mean, I wouldn't really call myself a jazz player, but I do play some in a group that plays lots of jazz standards and stuff. I'm sort of learning my way around it. I mean, it's got a softer tone, isn't it? And that's probably part of it.
Well, I do.
I imagine you're not playing the octaves and bends. Well, you can't play the bends, really, can you?
No, really. You can bend it, but you can't.
Yeah, I mean, I bend for effect on the chromatic, and obviously one of the things you can bend all the blow notes, can't you?
Yeah.
A nice sort of soft bend, I think, is So, I don't know. Perhaps you're playing too many. You're being too jazzy. You're playing too many notes.
I'm just too good. That's the problem.
You're too good for them. Yeah.
Thank you.
But I mean, the chromatic's great. It's just a great contrast, isn't it? And I think some things definitely do work better on the chromatic. I mean, I have worked hard on my diatonic playing to get the bends sounding great, but they do always sound like bends. You can always tell. Which
I can see just from today that working on a chromatic and comparing it to the 3-draw.
Yeah.
It's it's going to be a lot easier straight away.
Yeah, I mean, some tunes. I mean, there's things on the harmonica that are great to practice, but they don't necessarily sound good. I'm sure we've all spent time at home practicing weird positions or scale, or trying to play tunes on the diatonic that just involve loads of bends, which is great to practice, but is it just better to do it on the chromatic?
I came across that sort of opinion as I was messing about with that last one. Yeah. And you were doing that. I was trying to do that on the diatonic, and it's quite tough.
Yeah, I mean, but also, I was some riffs this morning that I worked trying to do on the diatonic, playing on some speed runs I was trying to do. When I try to play it on the chromatic, you just can't do it. Certain note patterns are not. They just don't work as well. So it's. I mean, to me, one's not better than the other. It's just different, isn't it? Okay, we've got a couple of minutes left. I'm going to do blues in E. Because Miles, you pointed out it was the same scale, didn't you, for the G major and the E minor pentatonic. So I don't know how many you tried.
It, but yeah,
playing in the key of E on a chromatic. E major, I think, is quite tricky because you've got lots of slide action, lots of changes of breath. So to me, it's a tricky key on a C chromatic. But if you want to play blues and you play like the minor pentatonic scale, it's pretty easy. So, I mean, my approach to learning to playing different keys is learn some of the scales. I think learn bass lines and root notes of the chords, which we haven't looked at. I've encouraged my diatonic people to learn that, arpeggios basically, and learn a couple of tunes. So if we'll do this blues backstage tune in the key of E. So I'm just going to put that up. So, sorry. So I mean, sometimes E is a bit of a key, that people just are terrified of on a chromatic. But blues scale, if you use that, it works. There are a couple of notes we need to definitely avoid, to watch out for. But again, it's the same thing 3 times. Let's do it again. I messed it up. Have another go around that. Okay, so I mean, someone once said to me, the best solo is the tune. So you take your inspiration for improvising from the notes in the song. And again, like we did Blues Backstage in G, this is based on notes from the blues scale. Okay, so if you're going to improvise on that, they're notes to start with, but I'll put the scales in. We might not have time to go through all of this, but that's the blues scale in E. And so far, I don't think there's been any mistakes on the tab, which there's normally one creeps in, as Mike, who I know who's here, will testify to. So that's pretty easy to play. You can play it all the way up the chromatic. Because we're in E, one note we do not want to play, or need to be very wary of, is suck 2 or suck 6, because that's an F. That's going to clash. If you do play that, put the slide in really quickly. I know it's not written in the scale, but if you find yourself playing that, and also C's as well. So see, that does not sound good. And the C as well. But again, push the slide in. Let's play this scale up and down. And again. So I missed a note out. Now just have a little mess around a bit. Stop it there. How's that for everyone? Okay? Yeah, okay. Just take it off for a second. So, yeah, it's quite straightforward. I mean, I think if you want to improvise successfully any of this stuff, you need to have the scales memorized, which obviously, if you're not playing them today, you're not going to do now. But you know, if you want, because I think it's not that hard to play and improvise well in different keys on the chromatic, but obviously you must learn the scales, major scales, blues scales, minor scales, but which I don't think is an insurmountable task. But it just makes it easier, you know, if you're not thinking about what do I, push the slide in. If you just memorized it, then you can start creating with it. But,
Joff, there is one question. There's
yes.
one question that I thought of, and that was, you're sticking to, in the pentatonics, you're sticking to the scale pentatonic. So if you start the key of G, you can stick to the G pentatonic right through.
Yeah.
But can you move the pentatonic to the fourth chord and the fifth chord as you move to them in the blues changes?
Yeah, I mean, you can do. There might be one or two notes you need to be wary of. But yeah, I mean, now when you're talking about improvising, we could spend years talking about this because we could just use one scale, but you're talking about use different scales for the different chords. Yeah, so I mean, I had some stuff to do in the key of A, which is also works well on the C chromatic. It's pretty simple, really, but we're just not going to get time to do that. So, yeah, I mean, what you're talking about is I'll play the A pentatonic. And the B. So I'd have to practice that a bit to be good at that. But yeah, I mean, you could do, but I think with the A pentatonic, you might want to avoid the E flat because we're in E. If we play E flats,
I think that was a good
work.
demonstration. That was helpful. I found that helpful. That was good. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you can do that. I mean, the thing is, you can play any note you want, can't you? It's just about if it's a dissonant note or note that's going to clash with the key of the chord, don't play it for very long. You know, I mean, you can play chromatic scales, can't you? But I mean, you tend to just use a little bit of them or run between. You know, you wouldn't just keep playing a chromatic scale up and down because it's hard to make sound good. You use it as a quick run. And also, if you just play it fast all the time, everyone's going to get really bored if you just play up and down, up and down, up and down really quickly. So.
You say you concentrate on single notes. Do you mix it up with octaves as well?
I mean, I do. Yeah, I do use. So I do use octaves on the. Depends what key I'm in, but yeah, I do. Yeah, it's something I do. I mean, I sort of kept away from it from this class, but yeah, I mean, why not? It's a great thing. Sorry?
Ultimately, the choice is yours on what you play, I guess.
Yeah, and I think playing scales in octaves, it's something I do now and again, even your major scales. Is a really good exercise.
Is the mouth position the same on the chromatic as it is different on the diatonic, isn't it?
It's a bigger split. But I mean, one of the good thing about the chromatic is it's logical. You know, if you do, you can do the same pattern. You know, everything works. It just, you know, take it up an octave. You just add 4, don't you? Which is not the same on the diatonic. Which is, you know, learning the top octave and a diatonic is tricky, isn't it? Because embouchure is different, and plus the notes are back to front, which is not the same on the chromatic, you know. But yeah, why not put the octaves in? It's a good, you know, texture thing, isn't it?
I like the sound. Yeah.
Yeah, it does
George
sound
Harmonica Smith.
great,
Right. Yeah. Okay. Thanks very much.
No worries. Okay, I think we're going to have to. Has anyone got any more questions? Going to have to wrap it up there. If that's okay. Please ask questions if you've got any.
Yeah, be very quick.
Okay.
Okay, then any.
So I think I'm going to send Sam these PDFs, and you're going to put them up somewhere, are you?
Yeah, there's on the website. There's a sort of a previous sessions page. So the all the PDFs and videos. There's links to those there. So, yeah. So send them through, and I'll sort it all out. Don't worry about that.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Joff. I mean, it's been another brilliant session. So, you know, as a diatonic player, listen to a lot of the chromatic stuff is. You know, as you say, you don't often hear the chromatic played in what we'd call second position, and I think it makes a change compared to from hearing it in third position. The other thing as well is I think that people should take away is the importance of scales, and I think that's a theme that's come through a lot of the previous sessions, and what you've showed brilliantly early on is actually, you know, it's not just about religiously just going right up and down the scale, is to actually play proper tunes, improvise with different timings.
They have a point to them. they have a use, you know, which people sometimes forget, I think, sometimes, you know.
The other thing I was going to say was, if I think this is in something that Miles said earlier on about sort of the lack of blues notes within a solo. There's a great Jason Ritchie track that's called Mississippi March, and the first 3 loops he plays, I think right at the end there's a flat 7, but apart from that, they're all major notes, and yet it still sounds very, very, very bluesy. So if you get a chance, listen to Mississippi March by Jason Ritchie.
Okay, I don't know that one of his actually.
It was off. I think it's around 2011, something like that. Okay. And so a nice segue into saying what's on for next week. Mr. Ritchie will be joining us, also with Richard Taylor. That's a later start at 5 p.m. So hopefully people can join us for that. I think it'll be quite popular. And then the following week, we've got the Chromatic Weekend, which I've just got some brief information. Basically, there's 6 players. Each player has about a 75-minute session. There's 1 on Friday, 2 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday, and I'll just get the names of some of the artists up for you. Where are we? Oh, there you go. I actually had them all on. There we go. We've got we got Rob Paparazzi, Brendan Power, Adam Glasser, Joe Powers, Philip Jers, and Gregoire Marais, I guess that's how you pronounce it, my best French. So that's on the 25th, 26th. There'll be more details soon. So at the moment, I know there's 42 sort of people registered for that. So we're going to increase the size of the Zoom room anyway, because we believe that that's going to be quite popular, as Jason will be next week, no doubt. So of course Richard Taylor as well. He's a good drawer as well. So okay, well, thanks again, everybody, and again, thanks, Joff. Absolutely brilliant. And see you again next time.
Yeah,
all right.
Thank you.
Nice. Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks.
See you, folks.
Thanks a lot, really helpful.
Cheers, Joff.
Cheers.